love, peace, happiness, contentment. Virtues make our life better. Let us ponder on our virtues. Virtues for life.
Hello and welcome to Virtues for Life. I am Sister Denise, and this is a program of conversation between Brahma Kumaris and Brahma Kumaris about virtues. Virtues, values, qualities and powers are the foundation of our life, and they determine the quality of people that we are as individuals and the contribution we make to society as a whole. The laws of spirituality have told us that the most potent way to bring about global positive change is by changing our individual selves. And the spiritual practice of Rajyoga that all of us do is telling us that the work that we do on our own selves, the way we develop and cultivate our virtues, this is the way in which we become the contributors and catalysts for global positive change. Today, the program is about discipline. And I have with me in Godlywood studio today Sister Jagruti Patel, who is from our international headquarters, the International Centre for the Brahma Kumaris at Global Cooperation House in London. Welcome to Virtues for Life, Sister Jagruti. So, discipline, that seems to be perhaps rather a harsh word or a hard word, but it's something that you have chosen to talk about with us today. Tell me, what do you mean by discipline?
Discipline can seem like a harsh word, but it can also seem like a very light word, a very entertaining word, in the sense that we discipline ourselves according to our day-to-day routine, but also as we are as a character. I think discipline very much is combined in this way.
Now tell me about your personal discipline in your daily routine. What is that?
You mean the timetable?
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I'm very particular on my timetable.
Yeah.
Where much as possible I really do try to follow it. I do get up quite early, very early.
How early?
I get up every day at 2:45.
Yes.
And I give that half an hour time to get myself ready, to not just get up and just like getting out of bed, rush, but at 2:45 I do get up, then I spend like 5 minutes on my bed just so that I'm awakening myself properly, and then physically I'm getting ready to leave the house by 3:20. This is my fixed routine every day.
And where do you go?
So in the morning, I just live like a few steps away from Global Cooperation House in London. And at 3:20, I make my way to Global Cooperation House, ready for meditation.
And how do you meditate?
How do I meditate?
You personally?
Actually, when I get there at 3:30, first of all, I read the daily teachings known as the Mulli. I give that 10-15 minutes for that. And then by 3:45, I'm ready to sit in meditation. How do I sit to meditate? Basically, I'm just actually thinking of a point of light. I'm not thinking of anything else or remembering anything else, or not even like, well, the word used is chanting, thinking I'm a soul, but just to focus on that point of light.
Do you use what you read in the Murli beforehand? Do you use that in your thinking?
So I was just going to say, sometimes there may be good things I've taken from there, then that would emerge naturally because I've liked it and I've taken it to heart. That would come up automatically.
And when you're meditating, what is actually the discipline of the mind?
The discipline of the mind is actually basically your mind is stable, you're not diverted anywhere, and at the same time you're able to take from the Supreme, so you feel that you are actually, so if you're practicing yourself to be a light, you are remembering the Supreme Father, then I do experience the power that He's giving.
Let's stick with the Murli class.
Okay.
The Murli, the flute of knowledge. I really am interested in talking about your mind, your discipline of study, spiritual study, which is different from the actual meditation. How do you discipline yourself to absorb information?
Because I've already read the Murli before Amrit Vela, it really helps when I actually come to listen to it in class. And at that time, really, because I know what's going to be said, or I've got, not all of it I remember, but I know the gist. And so when I'm listening, my mind is focused, and there's many things I enjoy, I take, and you can hear it again and again and again, and you enjoy it. So your mind is stable in that. If your mind doesn't enjoy something, it goes to sleep or it wanders off like a horse. So the discipline of the mind is also connected with enjoyment, from my experience, because if you enjoy something, your mind is focused.
When you want to actually deepen your thinking process, if you would be churning, we use this word churning, a particular point from the Murli, what's your discipline for taking a point and going into the depth of it?
My discipline is basically, if I like something, then to write about it. I start to write. So I have a little book with things that I really like, that I've heard from our senior brothers and sisters or from the Murli. I write on it, and then I will elaborate it if I want to write more. And amazingly, so much comes out of it for me. And I find that's just good food for the thoughts, or good food for your mind, or good nourishment for the mind.
And then when you are, you're moving out of the early morning class, you're getting ready for work, what is your discipline around work?
My discipline around work is, I always feel, or I was always brought up to discipline ourselves in the sense, when you are at home, you're at home. But when you're working, or when we were at school, you're at school, you're a student or you're a work colleague. So the discipline is, when I'm at work, I focus on work and not think of anything else.
So what's your work, and how do you do your work?
My work involves business and commercial banking, finance. So that's basically dealing with a lot of large companies and businesses and their banking and their accounts, etc., etc. Physically, it's not much work involved, but mentally there is a lot of strain.
So then how do you deal with that strain?
It's hard, it's tough, and it's challenging, but what helps me is you have to move away from it. So physically I move away from my desk, and mentally I have to move away. It may be I just have to walk off for 5-10 minutes, but even in that 5-10 minutes I may reflect on my notebook, or I may be just having a drink or just sitting quietly, because that helps a lot. So when you move away from a situation or don't think about something, then it is good for you, it's healthy for you, and hence when you come back to your workstation, then your mind is more refreshed, more relaxed.
And then how many hours a day do you consecrate to your actual work?
My work actually is of 7 hours, officially 7 hours, but from the time I leave home and from the time I get home, it's more like 12-13 hours. So I'm out of the house.
So the other hours where you're not working, that's commuting, or what's happening there?
Yeah, that's commuting. So sometimes it can take an hour and a half to get there.
Is there a discipline that you apply when you're commuting?
Unfortunately not. I travel by public transport, the trains, and they try their best, but they're not disciplined either sometimes. And you know, there's always line failure, signal failure, or the weather doesn't permit. So in those cases, can't be disciplined, but just have to wait.
But I mean, is there like a personal discipline that you have that allows you to flex with all of these unpredictable situations in the public transport?
Yes, just patience. Patience helps because I can't do anything, it's out of my control, and just I have to be patient and accept it.
Can you meditate when you're on the public transport?
Not always, no.
Why?
Because there's a lot of noise, a lot of people, and most of the time the trains are all packed. So it's very, very difficult. But usually I just listen to my music, and that helps a lot. That's very relaxing for the mind, very soothing, and it just diverts my mind away from the fact I may be delayed or there's a lot of people. That helps a lot.
Then when you get home, okay, you've had your early morning 2:45 meditation, you've had your spiritual study, you've had 14 hours working and commuting. Are you exhausted by that time?
Definitely. I'm definitely exhausted. But as soon as I get home, I shower and I just get ready. So I'm out of my, I'm out of my work mode, should I say. And then it's like a new chapter has begun in the day.
So now there is a discipline of personal hygiene and cleanliness. Talk a little bit about that, because I think that's a very important component of spiritual life.
Yes, definitely. Even when we were young and we used to go to school, but also that discipline helping now as I've grown older, that when I've come back from work, I have a shower. That is my discipline. I will not drink or eat anything until I've had that shower. And I think just like personal hygiene and cleanliness, very good, because once you've had a shower physically, you feel good in the mind as well. And that helps a lot with whatever you're going to do for the next 1, 2, 3 hours.
Tell me, do you have food disciplines?
I do, yeah.
Tell me about those.
In my food disciplines, before I used to eat everything and anything, sort of. Now I've disciplined in the sense that I try to, because I work part-time, but the days I'm working, I will eat properly in the evening, because in the day when I'm working, I don't eat much. I just have a light salad, or if it's quite warm days, summer days, and I have fruit. But if it's winter days, I'll just have maybe a flask of soup and maybe 1 piece of bread. So I'm very disciplined in my food like that. But then in the evening, I do eat proper, like a proper Indian meal. When I'm not working, then again, I do eat lunch. But if I've had a good lunch, I'll have a light dinner. If I've had a if I've had a light lunch, I'll have a heavy dinner, or the other way around.
Yeah.
And I think it just disciplines ourselves. Otherwise you feel heavy, your mind feels heavy, and that's how I feel.
So these kinds of disciplines of hygiene and food and lifestyle, have they helped you to have good health?
Definitely. People think I'm very thin or very slim, or maybe underweight, but actually not. I'm not underweight. I do look on the slim side because of my height, but physically I do feel very good. And in the last 3 months, I haven't eaten bread. And it was just out of personal choice. I just wanted to try it. And now gradually I'm going to start eating bread. So from May I will start eating bread, because if you cut something out and then go back to it, your system may not allow you to accept it. But what I've noticed is it's been good for me. Once in a while I may just eat grapes all day. So breakfast, lunch is grapes, and then in the evening I may have a light meal, because grapes is a cleanser for the body. So there's things like that, but these are all like physical things, but they do help mentally as well.
So when you're talking about discipline, I'm hearing you being very balanced between your spiritual life and the physical. Is that all part of your interpretation of how to really lead a spiritual life without disregarding the body?
Definitely. So discipline spiritually, physically, mentally, which leads to good health. So discipline in the sense with your food, with your spiritual life, with your personal hygiene. Discipline in the sense there's time to laugh, there's a time not to laugh. I'm not saying that means the opposite, crying, but there's a time for everything. And for me that's important.
And then in your personal relationships, your friends, your colleagues and so on, do you have any disciplines for personal interaction? Because a lot of people have difficulties with relationships.
You know, one of the things I really, really believe in life, the biggest thing in life, or the biggest department, I believe, is maintaining good relationships.
So what do you do as a discipline to ensure that?
My discipline in terms of relationships with the people is speak as much as you need to. So if I know that an individual is highly sensitive, really and truly just to be very light with them. That doesn't mean to say that somebody who's not so sensitive, I can just say what I want and how I want. But I believe very much people take sorrow or hurt in not what we say, but how we say it. That's number one. But number two, there's a limit to everything in life. So they say water's good for you, but too much water is not good for you. So too much of something in life is not good, and that means there's no discipline.
So part of discipline that you're saying is really moderation.
Moderation, yes, that's the correct word. And in relationships, I think there's a saying in Hindi, na bolne mein no gun. So sometimes it's best not to say anything. Some things are best left unsaid, and that's good for me, good for you, or good for whoever I'm interacting with. Because the hurt somebody can take in a relationship, that is there for a lifetime, I feel, and takes years and years and years to mend.
Right. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of our program. Thank you very much. It's been very insightful, because discipline in life is really very important, and we don't want to be rigid. I think it's really nice that you were talking about the lightness of discipline, and then really looking at the actual routine, the daily life, the early morning meditation, that foundation of a disciplined life, which is not rigid, not heavy, but something that enables you to keep going and keep going and keep going in spite of a long work day. I liked very much the connection with the people, the connection with the hygiene, the connection with the mental discipline, the study, how you relieve yourself from stress. So thank you very much,
Thank you.
Jagruti.
It was very enjoyable.
And thank you to the audience. Let us ponder for a moment on the virtue of discipline. Each one of us should take a moment to just think, what kind of disciplines do I have in my life? How do I keep myself balanced? How do I keep myself in such a way that I have everything going the way that it needs to be, so that all the different components of my life are working well together? Thank you all for being with us today on Virtues for Life. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Om Shanti.